Attention, Kules. A piece of news that could shake the market is about to break. From Barcelona comes information that could change the course of the Blaugrana attack. Yes, we're talking about a familiar face in Spanish football, a talent many had written off, but who is now back in Barca's orbit. It's Takefusa Kubo, the Japanese winger who shines at Real Sociedad but has already made it clear he doesn't want to stay in a project without ambition. And pay attention, because the Blaugrana club is ready to move quickly to bring him back to Camp Nou. Kubo's story with Barcelona has a special flavor. Many remember him because it all started at LAMINE. He arrived as a child with a shy smile, a magical left foot, and immense talent. Coaches from that era still mention him as one of the greatest talents to come through the Kules Academy in recent years. But due to FIFA sanctions, his path was cut short, and the club had to let him go. Since then, his career has been a journey filled with learning, maturity, and challenges. Now, after establishing himself as one of Real Sociedad's best players, destiny seems to be offering him a second chance to return to where it all began. At Barca, there is unanimity. Kubo is liked, convincing, and fits perfectly. His technical profile, his ability to unbalance defenses, and his positional play intelligence make him an ideal candidate for the model Hansi Flick wants to consolidate. The German coach, who has insisted since his arrival on strengthening the wings with players capable of creating advantages in one-on-one situations, considers the Japanese player a strategic reinforcement, not just for his talent, but also for his knowledge of the league and his formative past at the club. Kubo understands the Barca style. He has it in his blood. In recent weeks, the situation at Real Sociedad has changed radically. The team is struggling, the results are worrying, and the player, according to close sources, feels frustrated by the lack of ambition in the project. After 9 match days, the San Sebastián team is sinking to the bottom of the table, and Kubo is beginning to wonder if it makes sense to stay with a team that isn't fighting for titles. His recent statements, filled with disillusionment, say it all: "I have a contract, but you never know." A phrase that, in the world of football, sounds like a farewell. That's where Barcelona comes in. The Blaugrana club, already working discreetly on signings for next season, has identified this situation as a golden opportunity. The sporting director knows that Real Sociedad could be forced to negotiate if the player insists on leaving, and that his market price of around €30 million is affordable compared to other operations. Additionally, Kubo has a special clause that could facilitate negotiations if it involves Barca due to his formative past. Initial contacts have reportedly already begun, mediated by agents linked to both clubs. Within Camp Nou, the idea of bringing Kubo back generates excitement. He is seen as a symbolic signing, one that connects with the essence of Barcelonismo. It wouldn't just be a sporting reinforcement, it would be a message. The return of a homegrown talent who once got lost along the way but is now mature, established, and ready to triumph with the colors he always carried in his heart. An act of football justice. And in times when the club seeks to strengthen its identity, such moves have an incalculable emotional value. Hansi Flick has reportedly already given his approval. The German coach particularly values the commitment, discipline, and technique of Asian players and considers Kubo a key piece to revitalize play on the wings. In his system, which combines intensity with ball control, the Japanese player would fit perfectly as a right winger or even as an offensive midfielder in tight matches. His versatility is one of his greatest strengths. He can play inside or outside, break lines with dribbling, or assist from a half space. In a Barca looking for creative alternatives beyond LAMINE YAMAL, Kubo would bring fresh air and experience. But beyond the tactical aspect, there is something that particularly excites the fans: the human factor. Takefusa Kubo still admires Barcelona. In several interviews, he has acknowledged that he holds immense affection for the club and always felt that his departure was a matter of circumstances, not desire. "Barca is part of my story," he said a couple of years ago. Now, at 23 years old and with full footballing maturity, he would be delighted to return if the opportunity arises. At Real Sociedad, the situation is becoming increasingly tense. The management knows that keeping an unhappy player is not a good idea, and the Premier League is also lurking. Aston Villa, according to English media, has shown interest, but Kubo's inner circle acknowledges that the player prioritizes staying in Spain with a big club, an ambitious project, and a style that suits his football. And let's be honest, Kules, what better place than Barcelona for that? The club that taught him to understand the game, instilled in him the importance of passing, control, and creativity. There's no comparison. In the Blaugrana dressing room, the possibility of his arrival is also well received. The young players know him, respect him, and are aware of his quality. He would be a natural reinforcement for a squad that combines emerging talent with established players. Additionally, the sporting director believes his arrival would send a positive message to the world. Barça remains a destination for great talents, a club where you can grow, shine, and transcend. And if Kubo has one quality, it's personality. In tough moments, he steps up, doesn't hide, and doesn't give up. He proved this at Real Sociedad, leading the team when no one else did. This winning mentality is what captivates Flick and Deco, who have already discussed internally how he would fit into the 2025 to 2026 project. In a competitive environment with daily demands, the Japanese player could definitively explode and reach the level many always predicted for him. Barça needs players like him, brave, skilled, and hungry. Footballers who don't settle, who want to return the club to its rightful place. And Kubo, with his story, style, and emotional connection to Barça, fits this profile perfectly. Imagine, Kubo's return to Camp Nou. The stands chanting his name, the ball glued to his left foot, that change of pace that lifts people from their seats. It would be the perfect story. The boy who left out of necessity returns as a man to defend the colors of the club that always marked him. A circle closing, a wound healing. And in these times when Barça seeks to rebuild from its roots, such stories are worth more than 1,000 million. Attention, Kules, because what's happening in the market could mark a before and after in Barcelona's sports planning. The club has decided to move with strength, ambition, and a very clear strategy, to reinforce the defense with a centre-back who is both a present and future asset. And the name that has emerged strongly on the Blaugrana agenda is no ordinary name. It's Marc Guehi, one of the most complete and promising defenders in the Premier League, current captain of Crystal Palace, and a regular for the England national team. What once seemed like just another rumor has turned into a very real possibility. The player will not renew his contract, and Barça has already taken the first step to get ahead of everyone, including Real Madrid, who are also interested. But rest assured, because this time, Camp Nou has moved first. Deco and Hansi Flick are working hand in hand on an idea that excites the entire Kuhl environment, building a solid defense with clean ball progression, speed, and leadership. In recent years, the club has suffered from a lack of consistency in the central defense, and the board knows it. That's why the goal is clear, to bring in a young, strong-willed centre-back with experience in big matches. Guehi meets all these conditions. At 25, he has shown footballing maturity beyond his years. His hierarchy on the pitch, his ability to anticipate, and his strength in duels have made him one of the pillars of the Premier League. And the best part is that his contract expires in 2026, opening the door to a smart, strategic operation without the exorbitant costs that characterize the current market. Positive signals have already come from the player's entourage. Guehi is looking for a project that allows him to compete for titles, offers stability, and gives him a leading role. When the possibility of Barcelona is mentioned, his entourage responds with respect and admiration. The player appreciates the club style, the way they play, and the opportunity to grow under a coach like Hansi Flick, who demands intensity but respects the ball. Sources close to the player assure that the Englishman was impressed to learn that Barça considers him a priority and that the German coach has already given his personal approval. And Flick doesn't see him just as another centre-back but as a cornerstone for his project. Meanwhile, at Camp Nou, the board is moving cautiously but decisively. They know Real Madrid is also lurking around this operation, though without the same urgency. The Whites are thinking about reinforcing their defense in the medium term, while Barça needs to act now. Christensen has lost continuity, Inigo Martinez is struggling with injuries, and young players like Kubarsi need a partner who can provide stability. Guehi would be that balanced profile, capable of bringing both experience and youth. The plan is to convince the player with the sporting project, not with money, something that aligns with the current Blaugrana philosophy. Additionally, Hansi Flick values a key detail: Guehi's ability to adapt to different systems. He can play in a back four, a back three, or even as a sweeping centre-back when the team presses high. His reading of the game, speed, and spatial control make him ideal for the model the German coach wants to implement. In a Barça looking to regain territorial dominance, having a centre-back who understands the exact moment to break lines or support the block is pure gold. Flick has already said in private, "We need defenders who think like midfielders." And Marc Guehi fits that description perfectly. In England, Crystal Palace has already admitted they will lose their captain. Their coach, Oliver Glasner, publicly confirmed that the player will not renew, meaning the next transfer window will be decisive. If the club wants to profit, they will have to sell, and that's where Barça has the advantage. Unlike other teams, they can offer a project that combines sporting prominence with international growth opportunities. It's not just about signing a defender, but giving the player a leading role in the reconstruction of Europe's most emblematic club. From Barca's environment, this move is seen with optimism. Deco has had conversations with the players' representatives, and the feedback is very positive. Guehi wants to take the next step, and Barça offers him the ideal scenario. A historic club with a style of play that values clean ball progression, with young players like Bald, Kubarsi, or Kund, who can form a defense for the future. The combination is exciting. Barça isn't just thinking about strengthening to compete in La Liga, but also about becoming a protagonist in Europe again. And for that, they need players who don't tremble on the big nights. Now, Kuhl, imagine what it would be like to see Marc Guehi in Blaugrana, commanding the defense at Camp Nou, raising his fist after a perfect tackle or a decisive clearance. Because that's the kind of player who changes a team. He doesn't seek to shine with frills, but to impose respect with authority and composure. He has that English centre-back profile that combines physical strength with tactical intelligence, something that fits perfectly with modern Barca's DNA. And the best part is that at the club, they don't see him just as an immediate bet, but as a piece for the next 10 years. Hansi Flick is convinced, to build a championship team, you have to start with the defense, and the German coach doesn't beat around the bush. Since his arrival, he has asked for specific profiles, not media names. He wants functional, competitive players committed to the group. In that sense, Guehi represents exactly what he's looking for. Leadership without ego, hard work without excuses, and talent without excess. In the current Barca, where every euro counts, betting on someone like him is more than a good decision, it's a masterstroke. Internal reports are also unequivocal. The club's analysts have followed him for months, compiling data on his positioning, reliability in short and long passes, ability to anticipate plays, and his recovery rate. The results are impressive. His success rate in defensive duels is among the highest in the Premier League, and his accuracy in ball progression exceeds 90%. Additionally, he's a silent leader, someone who doesn't need to shout to earn respect. At Barca, a profile like his is gold. Someone who stays calm when the opponent presses and transmits security to the rest of the team. Kuhl, this signing isn't just a matter of sporting necessity, it's a statement of intent. It's a symbol that Barca is thinking big again, planning with vision and pride. Marc Guehi represents that renewed spirit, that blend of strength and technique, character and elegance. He's the kind of player who could define an era if he arrives at Camp Nou. Attention, Kuhls, because what is being prepared in the Camp Nou offices could become one of the most ambitious operations in recent years. Barcelona is preparing to make a bold move, one of those that shake the market and restore the club's aura of greatness. The name resonating today in all the corridors of European football is Julian Alvarez, the Argentine striker who has become one of the most complete players on the continent and who has never been closer to wearing the Blaugrana jersey. Yes, you heard right. Barca has decided to go all out to attract the killer, destined to lead a new era in the Kuhl attack. The news has had a bomb-like effect in Europe. Atletico de Madrid, the player's current club, knows that Barcelona has them in their sights and has already been forced to make moves. They have set a release price of €200 million, an exorbitant figure that, however, has not dampened the Blaugrana club's interest, because when Barca falls in love with a footballer, they fight to the end. And the truth is that Hansi Flick and Deco agree on one thing. Julian Alvarez is the kind of player who defines projects and marks generations. From the Camp Nou environment, the operation is being followed with enthusiasm and caution. Flick sees him as the natural successor to Lewandowski, a striker whose mentality fits perfectly with the club's philosophy. Julian doesn't just live for goals but also for constant work, his tactical reading, his ability to link up, press, and create spaces where others only see walls. He is a modern total footballer, one of those who understand the game beyond the numbers. And at Barca, that's a religion. Technical reports are unanimous. Julian has everything the team needs. Mobility, grit, precision, a goal-scoring instinct, and a work ethic that fascinates Flick. Within the technical staff, he is described as a hybrid version between the instinct of a classic number 9 and the intelligence of a creative playmaker. Additionally, his age, 25, places him at the exact point between maturity and potential. He is not a promise. He is an established reality with room to grow. The club knows this, which is why the board has activated discreet contacts with his entourage. And here's the most interesting part: Julian Alvarez himself has shown a willingness to listen to Barcelona. Yes, the Argentine feels attracted to Flick's project, to the idea of leading a new Blaugrana offensive based on dynamism and verticality. According to sources close to the player, he has already had informal conversations with members of Barca's sporting directorate, in which he expressed his admiration for the style of play and his desire to be part of a team that always seeks to dominate with the ball. In other words, Julian wants Barca as much as Barca wants him. The CUL board's plan is ambitious. They know Atletico de Madrid won't make it easy, but they trust in a smart operation. They could include players in the exchange, variable payments, or even a loan with an obligation to buy. Deco is working on creative formulas because the goal is not just to sign a scorer, but to do so without compromising financial stability. The club, still in a financial recovery process, cannot afford mistakes, which is why every step is calculated. But the will is there, and when Barca has the will, history shows that anything is possible. In this context, Hansi Flick's role is fundamental. The German coach has insisted that Julian would be a piece that changes the offensive dynamic of the team. He sees him as the player capable of uniting generations, the bridge between the veterans who still maintain hierarchy and young talents like LAMINE, YAMAL, Fermin, or GAVI, a silent leader who pulls the group forward by example, not by shouting. Flick wants a striker who combines commitment and intelligence, intensity and technique, and in his own words, Julian is a player who makes those around him better. But it's not just a tactical issue. It's also about feeling, identity, and reclaiming lost ambition. In recent years, Barca has unsuccessfully searched for a 9 who would return to the team the dominance it had in the days of Eto'o, Suarez, or even the young Messi. A player who doesn't just score but instills fear, making the opponent believe that the goal is inevitable. And Julian has that killer instinct, that gaze combining calm and ferocity, that energy that infects the entire team. Imagine, an attack with Julian Alvarez leading the offensive line, with LAMINE Yamal and Rafinha generating danger on the wings, with PEDRI threading impossible passes, and De Jong dictating the tempo from the center. It would be a perfect orchestra, a return to that football that made the world fall in love. And in the offices, this image is already beginning to take shape. The club's data analysts have compared his performance with that of the continent's top strikers, and the numbers are clear. Julian is one of the most complete footballers in Europe. His effective pressing rate, his involvement in goal-scoring actions, and his impact on ball recovery place him in the absolute elite. While Barca moves forward with determination, at Atletico de Madrid, concern is growing. They know that although the player hasn't asked to leave, his entourage is beginning to consider that the cycle may be coming to an end. Julian wants a winning project, a team that fights for everything, and Barcelona represents exactly that. In his mind, wearing the Blaugrana jersey would be the natural next step in his evolution. And let's not fool ourselves, what player in the world doesn't dream of playing for Barca? At Camp Nou, the directors have learned the lessons from past transfer windows. They cannot let great talent slip away, which is why this time, they are serious. It's not about improvising but about building. Julian Alvarez wouldn't just be a signing, he would be a message to the world. Barca is once again a desired destination, a club that inspires, seduces, and attracts the best, even more so now with a coach who respects the ball and demands commitment, and with a young squad regaining its competitive spirit. If you think about it, this has something of destiny. Barca needs a leader, someone to restore faith in the attack, and Julian needs a stage where his talent feels free. It's a natural connection, almost poetic. The Argentine has that character that Camp Nou loves, a fighter who never gives up, who battles for every ball. His signing would be an energy boost for the entire squad and a declaration to the world that Barcelona is back, hungry, proud, and with a future. So, get ready, because if there's one thing that characterizes this club, it's its ability to turn dreams into reality. Julian Alvarez could be the next to write his name in Blaugrana history. And when that happens, when you see him raise his arms at Camp Nou, you'll know that this moment began here, with an idea, an illusion, and the unshakable faith that Barca always comes back. Always.